Calving season can be one of the most rewarding yet challenging times on the farm. Ensuring healthy deliveries and strong calves requires preparation, vigilance, and the right tools on hand. I'm Charity Seebecker for the Midwest Farm Report, and veterinarian Dr. Garavet with Armor Animal Health says that with unpredictable weather and unexpected complications always a possibility, knowing what steps to take can make all the difference.
So I always say, there's two parts to calving season to prepare, far before calving season and then, right as calves are coming out. Far before, you should be thinking about body condition score, nutrition that you're feeding them, reviewing your stages of labor, when to call your vet, having that phone number, having a VCPR already set up. And then for the immediate action when the calves are coming out, are your facilities ready to go? Equipment, do you have the proper equipment? Do you need to replace it? Are they clean? Any calf care after, and then post-calving products and things to do. So that's a general outline.
And what advice do you have for farmers to ensure successful calving during these unpredicted spring weather conditions? We've got super nice weather, and there's going to be snow coming down the road here, unfortunately. Not that we want to talk into existence here, but are there key steps that dairy producers or cow-calf operations or these producers should be taking to maintain healthy conditions for these calves?
Definitely, yes. I think the biggest thing to think about with calf care is hypothermia. So when they're coming out, you want your bedding ready to go, clean, dry bedding. I think straw is probably the best to kind of insulate the calf and keep them warm. In cold weather, dry them off with clean towels. It also helps to stimulate them. Getting them dry right away decreases their chances of hypothermia. If the dam is not wanting to lick off the calf, you can also put some sweet seed or salt on the calf to encourage that behavior. Another thing to warm them up is warm colostrum at body temp, kind of a safe way to do that. And then thinking about safety too for yourself. I see a lot of times people are putting calf jackets on calves that are not yet dry. That keeps them wet. So make sure only when they're dry you put those calf jackets on. And you can put them in a warming room or a heat lamp on them to kind of dry them off, get their body temp up over 100. But I would still recommend moving them to an outdoor area so that calves' brown fat stores don't decrease, because that's going to cause problems for them later on. If you put them in too hot of an environment, that can kind of interfere with their breathing, just like you or I, if we're in a really hot room, it's kind of harder to breathe. And then just getting them dried off and warmed up right away also helps them not use as much energy just to stay warm, and then they can have a better immunity going forward so that all that energy isn't going just to warm them up.
What about bacteria buildup? What are some of the biggest risks in terms of that, or how can farmers, better manage their calving to prevent this? Is there any new strains or diseases or anything like that that they should be aware of for this calving season?
That's a big thing when you are preparing for calving season, looking at your supplies. That's why I always recommend OB chains, like the stainless steel, the metal ones versus using ropes. It's so much easier to clean. Those stainless steel pails, so much easier to clean. Making sure when you are cleaning up facilities that you're removing all the organic material, the bedding first. You're scrubbing, you're chemically breaking down that area, and then you're using disinfectants and making sure that the disinfectants that you use have the proper contact time. So you're not just spraying it off with water right away, but that it's staying on that surface, and that will really help. Same thing goes for any calf feeding equipment. If you're spraying disinfectants on there or using that, make sure you're reading the label and making sure you have the proper contact time, because that will make a huge world of difference.
And what are those things that farmers maybe don't know about what they should be aware of in terms of animal health when the weather is as variable as it is this time of year?
I think probably the most questions I get and things that people kind of misinterpret or get wrong is just stages of labor, when you should intervene, when you should call the vet. So there's 3 stages of labor. The stage 1, the contractions are starting, the cervix is dilating, and this can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours. Heifers might take a little bit longer than 8 hours. When you should intervene in that stage is if it's over 8 hours total, or if you have seen 6 hours pass after seeing that water bag, that's when you should intervene, not any earlier. We can actually do a lot more damage intervening too many times or too early or moving them when they're like in stage 2, that actually causes more issues with the dam. So stage 2, you're actually seeing that expulsion of the fetus. Cervix is fully dilated at that point. The amniotic sac and fetus is entering the birth canal. That's going to stimulate stronger contractions. Fetus is going to come out. You're going to see that unbroken water sac. That's letting you know, hey, it's stage 2. Usually it takes anywhere from like a half an hour up to 4 hours, but you should intervene after 2 hours if you've seen that amniotic sac with no progress. So that's like the calf is not coming out, the dam's not trying, or if the dam has stopped trying or straining over like 15 to 20 minutes, or if the cow-calf is showing signs of like fatigue and stress, the calf would have like a really swollen tongue. You want to check that tongue color. The darker, the worse condition of the calf. And then stage 3, you just think of like the membranes being expelled, usually like 2 to 8 hours. It's considered like an RP or routine placenta if it's after 24 hours. So just remembering when to intervene is huge. I think probably one of the most important things. And when to call the vet is 3 things. When you don't know the problem or how the calf is positioned, call your vet. Number 2, you know the problem, but you don't know what to do about it. And number 3, you know the problem and what to do, but you're not making any progress after 30 minutes. Calf jack is always mentioned if needed. I really stress that you probably don't need to do that. A calf jack exerts like 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of force versus when one of us humans is pulling, it's only about 150 pounds. Unfortunately, it only takes about 600 pounds to break a calf's femur. So really think about if you need that calf jack, and if you are using it, only using it when she's pushing and being very gentle that way.
Are there any lesser known animal health risks that farmer maybe not be aware of during this time of year?
I think the biggest with this topic would just be dystocias. So that just means like difficult calving. Calves from dystocias that survived have a decreased passive transfer of immunity and increased mortality anywhere from birth to weaning. So you really want to keep an eye on those calves after dystocia. So like factors you would say like calf size, probably a huge calf, the cow's pelvic size or shape, the cow's body condition, the cow's nutrition. They said in some studies dystocias can be from overfeeding and underconditioned cows. Dystocias are huge and kind of, you don't think about all the effects that a dystocia can have on a calf and that calf's life going forward.
Is there anything else this time of year that's important for the agriculture community to know in terms of animal health or the calves themselves?
Yeah, so I didn't really touch much on like body condition and nutrition. So months and months in advance, you want to have monitored their body condition, making sure their nutritional requirements are met. Like the very first time, I'd say late summer, then fall, around weaning time, about 45 days after weaning, and then like 90 days before calving. You want to keep looking at their body conditions for and adjusting your ration and monitoring their nutritional requirements. So like your goal would be like a 5 for younger dams or heifers and like a 6 for mature cows on a 1 to 9 scale. 1 being like emaciated and 9 being pretty obese. If you're able to sort like thin and good body condition score cows into different groups for feeding purpose, that would be ideal. I know that's not always possible, but if you're maintaining a good body condition score at calving, that will support them to get ready for breeding around like 60 days after calving or at peak milk production when they have their highest energy requirement. So we went over like stages of labor, and I wanted to shout out to like UW Extension. They have a really good website you can go to. I think it's dairy.extension.wisc.edu. They have some videos on there. They also have like in-person events.
That's Veterinarian Dr. Angela Garavet along with us with Armor Animal Health. While we know that calving season can bring plenty of surprises, being prepared and using some of these tips that she provided can help things go smoothly and make all the difference. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Charity Seebecker.